So welcome everyone to this workshop, Introduction to Articulate 360, focusing on RISE, by us, the Learning, Design, and Digital Innovation team. This is us presenting today. My name is Eduardo. I'm the Learning Technology Specialist, and here with me are my great colleagues, Jamili and Kalisa. You want to introduce yourselves?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jamili. I am the Curriculum and Evaluation Consultant in Learning Design and Digital Innovation and work very closely with Pavan through the Edith Lando Virtual Learning Center.
Hi, I'm Kalisa Young. I'm a learning designer here, and I work very closely with other instructors.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's continue. So we would like to start with a land acknowledgement, of course. We acknowledge that UBC is located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And we're very grateful for being on this land. Here's our agenda for today. So we're going to be looking at a couple of things. First of all, an overview of what's Articulate and RISE 360. Then we'll show you an example of a course that we built using this platform. That will give you an idea of the affordances and kind of like an end product. Then we'll explain the whole creation process, meaning how do you set up a course? This is kind of like the technical side of it. We will not go into much depth, but we just want to show you how easy and user-friendly this tool is. Then we'll quickly discuss accessibility, and we'll finish off with Q&A if you have some questions or things you would like to discuss with us. So let's start. Let's go with the overview. So something that I first wanted to clarify is that when we talk about Articulate, we're actually talking about a holistic suite of interconnected apps. So really, Articulate is a suite that contains different applications. And these are used for e-learning, and they have different purposes. So one of them is authoring. And among those, we have Storyline. Those are like the different apps, right? So Storyline, Studio, RISE 360, Replay, and Peak 360. It's also used for sourcing assets like content library, collaborating, and training. So we're going to be focusing on RISE 360. Among these, the most popular ones are Storyline and RISE 360. The thing with RISE 360 is that it's much more user-friendly, and it's also web-based. So in that sense, it has some affordances when we are designing courses. Some might ask, what about Storyline? Storyline, it allows you to have more control over custom, making details and working on different things that you want to show. But RISE 360 is pretty robust, as you will see in this workshop. Perfect. So Articulate RISE 360 is a modern, dynamic e-learning authoring tool allowing designers to create responsive courses, as you will see, for any device. That's one of the pros, that it adapts really well to phones and to iPads and systems like a computer. All of them, they work really well in them. So RISE allows instructional designers to create engaging online courses with a few clicks of a button. We will see that it's so easy to use, it makes it really easy for all designers and then also for all users to navigate a course and explore content. So what are the pros of Articulate RISE 360? These are some of them. It's a 100% browser-based tool, so that makes it very easy to access. It's also an easy-to-use interface, like I was mentioning, so very practical from both sides, meaning like the designer side and also the learner side. Then it offers a variety of tools. We'll look at those. It's very responsive, very dynamic, interactive, and engaging. It's very visually appealing. I think that's one of the most significant pros. Like, it looks really nice. And then the development time can be reduced in many ways compared to other tools that you might be using for instructional design or creating courses. So you'll see like how in a very fast way we can create a course. All right, so now we're going to be showing you an example of a course that we built. And Jamili and Kalisa will be explaining the whole creative process and the different affordances that we found and how it's structured. So go ahead.
great time creating this course for one of our instructors, supporting teachers to address the mental health needs of newcomers from war zones. We had a lot of material, and we were able to change the material that we had, and we were able to create the course. So when we started off in the introduction, we have our instructor, Dr. Sophia Noor, in a video, and the video was created and edited by our wonderful Eduardo here. Eduardo, you can go ahead and play the section that you like to share with everyone.
Supporting teachers to address the mental health needs of newcomers from war zones. My name is Dr. Sophia Nuri. I'm an assistant professor in the department.
Yeah, so this is a video that we can send you the link, by the way, of this course if you then want to explore it by yourself. But this is a video that we produce in our studio. And that's another service that we can provide when we're giving instructional learning design support. So yeah, this was created in our studio and also has like some cool animations here.
Supporting teachers to address the mental health needs of newcomers from war zones is meant to help educators address some of these challenges. This short 5-part manual is a quick and easy to use resource to help anyone working with children and youth with refugee experiences to integrate into our schools and communities.
So we can provide that service to you if you're working with us. Just a quick little parenthesis here, but if you go to our website, you can go to the FOE studio section and learn more about the studio. Okay, so you can visit that. I'll put the link right now in the chat, and if you have any questions to us, let us know.
And as we continue throughout the course, you can see what we've used to make the course more visual. There are a lot of bold prints that we use. We embedded a number of videos as well. And in this section, I think we were able to create a graph which was user-friendly in creating this the graph that's there. Throughout the course, we had a number of images, and we'll talk about the content library that is available too in Articulate Rise. In this tab, or in this section, we had a number of tabs, and we were able to not embed, but to add the flags of the countries as well, and just a number of images throughout the course, and as well as to have the image, as well as to embed a link in which the users were able to then watch videos, and a number of graphic images as well.
So I think we're jumping to section 4. We just wanted to showcase some of the design principles that we were able to embed in this course first, so that you can see the potential, and then later we'll show you exactly how to create this on your own. But this is the chapter 4 section. We wanted to showcase again, like that you can also embed a link. So in the green text, you'll see the title of the author of the quote. So you can actually embed a link within Articulate, and then that link would then direct you outside of Articulate, which is fantastic. We have our reference list here, which is great. And we also just wanted to showcase again some of the different ways that you can embed images and text. So there's different style selections that we'll showcase later. And then you'll also notice that underneath the photo, we were able to add a description of the image so that it's a little bit more accessible. Again, just able to do the bolds. These are really great because you can click them. And so you can do images on the outside, or you can do text on the outside. And then once you flip it, you can incorporate a resource behind it. So then if you're not interested in all 10, you don't have to select all 10. But if there's one that you are particularly interested, you can select it and it will bring you to that resource page. I believe these are called cards within Articulate. So that's a fun feature. Amazing. Just more amazing stock photos. Articulate's fantastic for stock photos. We also have these. So basically there was so much content for this course that we wanted to ensure that there wasn't a crazy amount of scrolling. And so we were able to introduce elements like these, which again, we'll show you how to do. These are tabs. Beautiful. Thanks, Eduardo. And then we thought we might show you a couple of activities as well. So the really amazing piece about Rise is that not only is it fantastic for content, but you can integrate a variety of activities. And one that is quite fun to play with is kind of like a virtual, like case-based scenario activity. So you'll see here that you can select the human that is kind of answering the question. They also have different facial expressions, whether you get like the response correct, or you need to do some more work, or they're excited for you. So it's quite fun to be able to implement these. It's quite engaging when you're participating. And then basically, there's the two questions, kind of like a choose your own adventure. If you get the question wrong, then it will actually tell you why you got the question wrong, and then you can retry. Yes, these amazing facial expressions. And you can include as many questions as you want to. So we can get into more detail later, but these can also be kind of like not graded, but if you integrate this, you can also find out who has completed the activities, but you don't have to incorporate that at all. So you could incorporate it as kind of like an activity or task for participation. But if you don't actually care about who's completing it and why, then you don't have to incorporate it, but just an interesting feature. And then if we scroll a bit lower, we have 5 activities within this section. So just in the same tab, Eduardo, there should be an activity under this one.
Oh.
If you scroll, yeah, exactly. So we can also do multiple choice questions, and we can also do multiple correct answer responses, which is fantastic. Again, if you get it incorrect, then it'll tell you why, which we think is great for learning. And if it's correct, then it's correct and you move on. We also have a matching game that you can incorporate, which is fantastic. So again, if you get the answer incorrect, it should tell you why you got it incorrect. But otherwise, you can move forward. And then there's also fill in the blank sections, which is fantastic. So we just took this exact sentence from the resource, and then you can type, so they can find the answer within the resource, type the answer there. And there's also multiple different answers that you can put within. So if someone, put, I don't know, painting instead of paint, you can kind of train the algorithm. So painting or paint will be correct, which is fantastic. Okay, again, a multiple choice, fantastic. And then that's majority of the activities that we can showcase a little bit more. So again, we just wanted to show you something that was complete so that you can have a visualization of what it might look like when it's complete. But now we'll pass it back to Eduardo to show you exactly how to create something like this from beginning to end.
Great. Thank you, Jamili. So yeah, the objective now, we're going to go into the setting up section. So what we basically want to show you, the idea is not for you to follow us, of course, because that will take more time, but it's just to quickly show you how easy it is to create something in Rise. Like we were mentioning, this is one of their pros. So it's very user-friendly. So I'm gonna log into Rise as I've done here. And as you can see, we see the different courses that we have built. So this is called the dashboard. Here you see all the recent content that you have created. And you can also create folders if you want to organize yourself. So let's say, for instance, we have this music courses folder. And here we're going to be creating all the music courses that we intend to make. So I'm going to start like setting up one course, and then Jamila and Kalisa are going to explain further on how you create the content. But let's look at that setup, because the setup is super easy as well. All right, so I'm going to recreate this one. I created a sample one. It's called the History of Jazz. I'm going to do that again. So I'll delete this one. It's empty already, so no problem. But we'll create a new one by clicking here, create new. And we're going to choose a course. So when we do that, the cool thing is that you have a lot of templates. So very beautiful design templates that you can use. But also, if you want to have full control in some sense, you can create a blank course. I'm going to do that. All right, so I choose blank course here. And then we're gonna get the basics of like defining the course title, and also like the description, the blurb, so to speak, and also the lessons. So the lessons are really like the sections, kind of like what we were looking just a couple of minutes ago. We had like 4 chapters. That would be the lessons. So I'm gonna call this the History of Jazz. And for the blurb and the structure of the course, so to speak, I'm going to use ChatGPT. So I was asking ChatGPT earlier today. I gave it a prompt on, an introduction for a jazz course, History of Jazz course. And it gave me like the intro, and also gave me some sections. So I was like, oh, this is even perfect. I can use this for the lessons. So I'm going to grab the text like that, put that here. So that will be like the first thing that students see when they first access the course. They will see like the blurb of the course, basically. And now we're going to be adding the different sections, just the titles, so to speak. And then we will see in the next section how we can go into one of these lessons and start creating the content. So I'll create this one. I think we need to. Yep. The second one.
Love the affordances of ChatGPT, but obviously would encourage not the copy and paste version, but just for time. The copy and paste is coming in handy here, but of course to go through it and write it in your own way.
Definitely. I mean, the reason why I'm doing this is because you know how when you usually do a workshop, you just write like test and then put like some dummy text. So I thought, hey, let's do something interesting with ChatGPT, you know? Of course, but like Jamil is saying, if we are using ChatGPT, I think it's a great tool, but it should be used more like a foundation. So, you know, you generate the content, but then you review the content and make adjustments and use it more as a helper in some sense. Okay, so I think also the blurb also have like something in the end that kind of like explains what you would be learning. Okay, perfect. So we have like the basics of creating the course title, course introduction, sections, and now we will look into how we actually create the content inside of the course.
One of the interesting things about, and possibly frustrating things about Articulate Rise 360 is that although you can collaborate with your colleagues at the same time, if I were to click on the same page that Eduardo is working on, then it would kind of kick him off of Articulate. So two people can't not be working on the same page at the same time, but you can work and Articulate at the same time if you're working on different sections. So that's why we are showcasing our screens separately today, so we're not constantly booting each other off. Okay, so we're here back at the main page. Everyone can see that okay? Amazing. Okay. Beautiful. So from here, we have these are kind of the ways that we could look at this as like chapter headings or resource headings. So these are like the chapter titles. And then to add content within those sections, you would simply write add content, and you can choose a lesson template. You can choose a quiz. So the quizzes are very much connected to those activities we showcased earlier. So the case-based scenarios, the multiple choice questions, the fill in the blanks. So you could certainly do that. And then you could manage how you want those graded or not graded as well. And I shouldn't say graded, but I should say completed or incomplete. So you can do those within the quiz settings. You can do a lesson template, which is fantastic. There's so many templates and they're absolutely beautiful. But for the case of today, we'll just start with a blank lesson. And then it'll toss us in here. So we've got the first section of our first chapter, which is amazing. And to start, you basically just add blocks. And blocks are just the chunks of content that you want to include within the chapter. So we have all blocks here. We can include some text, a list, images. We can also embed videos, which is fantastic. There's something called process, which we can look at later. Those flashcards, which we chatted about earlier, the ones you can click and then it'll turn around and you can add a link or a resource. Sorting, label graphic, and then there's this continue button that you can also incorporate. So the continue button I'll show afterwards, but first we'll just add a first block, which is text. So it'll just show up with the standard format for text, but the cool piece is that we can edit that within here. So you can choose a paragraph with a heading, which is what we currently have. You can choose a paragraph with a subheading. You can simply do a heading on its own if you want to incorporate an image afterwards, for instance. You can do a statement, which will show up similar to kind of like a block quote. And then there's different features for that as well. So these are all the basic designs that you can do. I wouldn't say that this is necessarily a limitation, but beyond these options, there's not much you can do in terms of showcasing your content. So here we've got extra, so you can do kind of like 2 different sections. So lots of different options that they provide. So if we wanted to add more content on this page, we can simply click the plus button up here to insert above. And then this block library would show up here. So it's the same block library that's at the very bottom, pulls up on the side. So let's say we want to add an image to the text. Beautiful. So within images, we also have multiple templates. So these are very standard. We've got an image with text, an image with text over top, a standard image, and we've got, again, another standard image, but smaller. So these are our images. And I'll just toss this one in here. So now that we have this in here, I also just want to say for adding, if we wanted to move a section, you can also move sections manually. Just by dragging it up and down, which is fantastic. So you don't necessarily have to add and delete and move things around, which is fantastic. Here, I just wanted to show you quickly the image options from the content library. So you can type in here if you're searching for something in particular, which is great. But just to give you an idea of like the beauty of the content library, we have found for Articulate that the stock images are absolutely beautiful and they are free if you're using this program. So pictures you would pay for on other websites are typically here, and there are even more. And they're really quite lovely. So you can just select that quick. Okay. And there's our birds. So in this case, we would probably use a different setting so we could get the whole bird. But you can also edit like the size and edit the description of the image as well to make sure that it's accessible. So you can crop the image here, like I was saying, add the alt text for the screen reader. This is all great for images. So we'll just add another block here quickly. I'm trying to think of what else might be fun to show you, maybe some multimedia pieces. So here you can add an audio. So in terms of accessibility, although you can integrate a text-to-speech, or this has text-to-speech integrated, you can also integrate an audio recording. So if you wanted someone to be able to access the page, click the audio, and then have someone read out the text on the page, then you can do that with this button, which we think is a really cool and great accessibility feature. You can also choose a video that you can add in. So you can record that video of yourself and input it, which is kind of what Eduardo had done with Sophia Nuri. But you can also embed another video from YouTube, Vimeo, so embed it right within Articulate. You can attach a file and also a code snippet, which is kind of interesting. And these interactive pieces. So the first one, which we chatted about a little bit earlier, is the accordion. So here, you can simply expand it. And then here, when you push edit, you can change the text and the image, or you can remove the image if you want to. So there's lots of options there. Let's add another one and see what else we can play with for multimedia, interactive. Okay. So we also have this labeled graphic. So basically you could input an image and then create hotspots. So if you had an image and it was like a diagram, for instance, and you could just click these plus buttons and then an image or more text or more resources or more links might pop up, which I think is a cool feature that we haven't actually used yet in a course, which might be fun to do in the future. A process. So if you did a process, basically this would be a slideshow. So it would be, phase 1, image, text. You would click the arrow, it would go to a phase 2. So this would be more, if there was instructions specific to something or something where you wanted to showcase a phase or process, this would be the idea. This is the scenario, the case-based scenario that we discussed. So really fun and exciting to use, very user-friendly. There's a sorting activity. You can include a timeline if you want to. These are the flashcard grids that we had talked about, where you can click them, they turn, and you can integrate content. Or you can just do one massive one, which is fun. And then here, these buttons are actually really interesting as well. So if you wanted to have content here with a blurb about that content and then have a link to whatever that resource might be. So say you wanted a resource hub or additional readings for a class, you could put them here with a description or a summary, and then you would just click go to location here. And that would be the embedded link, and it would lead you to that resource, which is very handy. So we'll just add another one. We'll just keep fancying this up. Knowledge check. Perfect. So again, the interactive activities are one thing, which we've kind of showcased a little bit. But the knowledge checker is where you would integrate a quiz. And so for the quiz integrations, you have the multiple choice, the multiple response. We've got fill in the blank options. So if we click fill in the blanks, for instance, it would pop up here. You would just type in a question and the answer. It's incorrect. That is my name, but we haven't programmed this. So we would edit it and you can have the question, the fill in the blank here, and then the answer here as well. So that's where it would be. And that's how you edit it. Okay, let me just see it, make sure we've covered all the good stuff here. So if we'll do one more plus button. We've got charts. So Kalisa had showed us one chart that we created using the pie chart earlier, but there's also the bar chart, the line chart that you can integrate as well. And these are the dividers. So if you wanted to create content that was sectioned so that the viewers could then select exactly what content they want to view, you can certainly do that. And if you clicked, so let's do continue. We can do the continue button. Basically, when you publish this, only the content above the continue button will show. And to get more content, you would simply click continue, and then the next chunk would show up. So that's just a nice way to break up content so that it's not too overwhelming for the viewers. And I believe for the most part, that's good. Again, the block template. So if you didn't want to do anything on your own, you just have the block templates option here. So I know that was very quick, but that kind of covers everything that you can possibly do within this program. And so now I think I'm going to pass it back to Kalisa.
Okay, so we can talk a little bit about what we would do after we've created the course. So we have these options at the top right-hand side. If we click on preview, for example, and hopefully this will work, yes, we can see that on the top right-hand side, we have different devices, as Eduardo was alluding to. So what would happen is if we put it in a tablet mode, for example, we can see that the lessons have also adapted in terms of where their design is. It's still available for the user. And we also have, so in any mode it changes to, it already is adaptable. So as the person creating the course, it isn't that you have to go back in again and change the options or where they are. And so for users who have tablets or mobile phones, the course is still accessible to them. So I'll just go back from here. As you saw, that very bright orange background here, it's something that we could change. We could change the theme. We can change the theme, we could save it. But more importantly, if you were interested in changing not the navigation, but the image, we could change the theme where we could add the where we could add the image. Say if we typed in jazz, then we would be able to have images there and change this image background. In terms of navigation, how you want your user to navigate the course. Do you want the navigation button to be at the bottom left-hand side, or in terms of just accessibility? So if you want to change the color, you can do that here, light theme, dark theme, and then you can save and you can save that. In terms of settings, what happens here is that we have 3 tabs. There's translations. We haven't used that in our course development as yet, but it does give us instructions on how, if we wanted to have the text translated, that we could have that. Even the buttons, the labels also could be translated into another language. For labels, the custom, the one that is always available, or the preview, is always in English, but this can be changed to different languages. In terms of, we'll get to the screen readers announcements in a second. We can, under labels that we'll find by default, yes, that's English. And for collaborators, we could actually add other people to collaborate too. But as Jim Lee said, if I'm using it, if I'm editing it at the time, if someone comes on, then they'll boot me out from editing. So there are cons to trying to collaborate at the same time, but in order to share the collaboration space, that is definitely available. And to share the course, which is what we did in the previous for Dr. Noor's course, the link is available. The link comes up right away. You do have the option to set a password if you choose to. The password is universal. So once you've set the password, that's what the password will be. Each user doesn't get a different password. That's just a password that will be there. And so you can use this link. You can preview the course, as well as you can share this along with anyone that you'd like to use or access the course. And then for publishing the course, if you are importing it into a LMS or into a web content or to a PDF, that's available here. With a PDF, the user wouldn't be able to have that interactivity. It would just be more of a static aid more than something that they'll be able to interact with. But if you use an LMS, for example, you can track if you choose to have a course completion. If there's a quiz, you can assess complete or incomplete if it's something that you'd like to track for the user. And of course, once all of that is completed, then we can publish the course. Once we publish a course, we receive an email saying that the course is completed, and then we can then embed it into a web page space, or we can share the link again, and then the user can have access. So those are the sections here at the top right-hand side. Very user-friendly and very easy to understand. I think we're going to just go over a little bit more on the accessibility piece that we see that RISE offers.
Awesome. Thanks, Kalisa. It's also important to note that you can embed the link in a Canvas course as well, which we often do. So if it's course related, we can certainly do that. But as Kalisa had noted, like importantly, it's also very easy to share beyond Canvas. So it's a typical link that you can share in any platform in any way. And in terms of accessibility, I do think that Articulate does a great job of responding to accessibility needs and issues that users have. So I will say that Articulate is certainly not perfect in terms of accessibility, but they are certainly working on it. And some new features that are enhancing accessibility are that the entire program and every single block that you implement, whether it's an activity or a text box or an image, they're all screen reader friendly. Which is not easy, certainly, especially even for thinking about like the block that you click that turns around, but those are actually now screen reader friendly, which is fantastic. There's also screen reader support in another language. So as Kalisa had pointed out, there is a translation option, though you do have to have an outside resource in terms of the transcription. So the program won't transcribe for you. If you get a transcription in another language, you can then code Articulate to transcribe in that language. So it's an extra step, but it is possible, which is good. The screen reader also now, which it did not used to do, but does now, is reads the links out loud. So for a screen reader, typically it can be very difficult to understand when there's a link embedded because you can't like visually engage with the content. But the screen reader will now read that it is a link that will lead you outside of Articulate, and it will also let you know exactly where the link is taking you to, just for security and privacy reasons, to ensure you do want to click on it. And it can also give you a brief summary of what that link includes. So we think that those were just important pieces to include. Typically, Articulate will try to abide by the like WCAG accessibility principles, so web accessibility guides and principles. And again, it's not perfect, but I think that they've come a really, really long way. So we have had good experience in terms of understanding how viewers are engaging with it. And from what we understand, it's more accessible than many other platforms. So that, for the most part, I know we went through that very quickly, covers most of the things that you can do in Articulate, although of course it is a lot more robust than that. I think it might be interesting too to kind of showcase the sidebar a little bit. Okay, so if we click on the history of jazz, I just wanted to showcase on the sidebar as well, which I know we kind of alluded to if we go into preview. And we'll click on the content just so you kind of see what it looks like when it's all here. So I guess we haven't published the other side, but everything is on the left-hand side if you're on your laptop, which is fantastic. And the great thing is you don't have to scroll through absolutely everything here, and you don't have to click continue if you don't want to. The sidebar here will house absolutely everything that you click through. So if you're only interested in the contents for chapter 2, you can go to the sidebar, click chapter 2, and it'll take you directly to that content. So you're not obliged to engage with every piece of content if you don't want to. It kind of gives the viewer a little bit more power over the content that they actually want to engage with.
Yeah, and I was also going to say that, but also if you want to control like how a student progresses through the course, you can also do that. So you can set conditions to move to the next item. So you can also like have that ability.
Awesome.
Great. So I think that, yeah, now we have really covered the whole thing. So we looked at the overview, we checked out the example, we saw the functionality of the tool, we discussed accessibility, and now we can go into questions and answers. So anyone has any questions?
I did have a question about analytics. So I know with Articulate products, you can either export them and then import them as SCORM packages, but Rise is on a website, right? And I know that you can export it as a SCORM as well. I'm just curious whether there are analytics options in terms of like tracking student engagement, or whether, how many students have viewed something or something like that.
I think it has not been added like a feature that can do the analytics. So for instance, when we created the course for Sophia, what we did is that we wanted to track at least how many people were accessing the course and that kind of thing. So we hosted that on the Canvas site. And that way we were able to track. But I believe that because this one is web-based, we don't have much options for analytics. But I can look into it and let you know.
Awesome.
If we have more.
There are analytics for the quiz options though, and the analytics are very basic. So it would just basically be like, yes, Kalisa accessed this and completed this quiz. So we can kind of track who's participated in a quiz to some degree. But I think that's from what I understand, that's pretty much all that you can do when the quiz feature is just know who has and how many have completed a quiz. But beyond that, I'm not sure.
Cool. Good to know. Thank you.
So everyone who's watching the recording, you can connect with us and ask any questions that you might have about Articulate or Rise 360. And if you would like to receive our assistance with that.
I just wanted to say thank you to you all, Kalisa, Eduardo, and Jamily. Thank you so much. I mean, it gave me ideas like later. I want to try it.
Yeah, just to finish off, just to let you know some of the upcoming workshops and events that we have. We have our AI Corner, bi-weekly generative AI conversation. We also have Tech Expo coming up next month. So it's going to be a very fun and cool event. So we invite you to participate in that. And we have our Halloween Games Day, if you want to have some fun next week on Halloween. And yeah, like I was mentioning, you can also always connect with us through Twitter or subscribe to our mailing list or book a consultation. And if you want to reach us, that's the website, ldvi.educ.ubc.ca. Thank you so much for your time.